So, the first thing we're going to learn about is the difference between the main network, or shortly mainnet, and the test network, not the real network, shortly called testnet. Okay? So the mainnet is the actual network, is the actual connections between all the blockchain participants, as we mentioned over the last 2 weeks. It's the actual network where the real transactions actually happen, where the real value change hands every minute, every second. Okay, so that is the real network. And as I mentioned to you, there are explorers. Explorer is just an app. This app can be put on a website. So on a website like this, for example, blockchain.com, there is an explorer, okay, which can see Bitcoin transactions. Okay, and here is an example of a transaction from the mainnet, okay, where the transactions are actually real with real value. So here's just one example I took at random right now from a recent transaction. When we see these two receivers at the current price of around 1.7 million NT for Bitcoin, these two receivers, this is a sender on the left hand side, these two are receivers on the right hand side. These two receivers would receive respectively about 20,000 NT and about 10,000 NT, right? So this is all on the main net. For your project, you will have to learn how to use a wallet, right? And I'm not going to make you buy real Bitcoins. I don't want to get involved with real money for this course. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to connect to a testnet. That is a separate network. Testnet looks exactly like a real network, but it's a separate network, right? Imagine if we have a computer game, like I mentioned last time, World of Tanks. Let's say we have a real game for all the real people to play at the same time, but I guess there is perhaps another version of World of Tanks for the game developers in the company to change some small things, see how things work. Before they see how things work, is it better to have different versions of bullets or whatever? I don't really know. Before they test, is everything working well? They don't want to implement these new changes for millions of customers, right? What if the customers don't like it? What if something is broken? And then they'll lose customers. So think of it as just a separate, similar network where things can be basically tested around. Same exists for cryptocurrencies, same exists for Bitcoin and all other cryptocurrencies. Okay? So a testnet is just a separate network from the mainnet. And that's the separate network where people can try out new things. Maybe you are a coder, maybe you're a programmer and you are building a new wallet for yourself. You don't like the wallet I'm going to show you. You can build your own, okay? Maybe you are a businessman and you want to accept payments in Bitcoin. You don't want the current payment providers, so maybe you build your own way, okay, to collect money. Whatever you want to build on top of Bitcoin, or maybe you are just trying to learn a little bit about Bitcoin without actually putting real money. This is what we're actually going to do, okay? For all of those purposes, you can use a testnet. So there are Bitcoins on the testnet, but of course they're on a separate network, right? When I'm playing that World of Tanks game and the game developers are trying to change some things in a separate version of the game, I don't see what they're doing. We're on a different network. They're changing, I don't know, the colors of the tanks. It doesn't affect me. I'm still working on an old version of the game before the game developers actually bring in the changes to the mainnet. Same here. There are Bitcoins on the testnet because it's just a similar network, but separate. There are Bitcoins, everything works exactly the same, but all the transactions are separate. They don't have a real value. And of course, there is also an explorer for that, just another app, another software, and there is a website to connect to that software. I will show you how to do that. That will be part of the project. You will have to do it for your project. So there is an explorer for that as well. Explorer, well, just from English, explorer is a person who goes out to find new worlds, right? In Bitcoin, in cryptocurrencies, explorer is an app that is searching for transactions, that's looking for all the transactions that have ever happened. Okay, so here's an example of an explorer looking at Bitcoin testnet, where the mouse is moving right now. It shows that we are looking at a testnet, not at a mainnet, right? And here's an example. This sender on the left-hand side is sending 15.8 Bitcoins, a little bit to this receiver and mostly to the second receiver. As you see, in real value, that will be like $1.5 million US, right? But of course, testnet Bitcoins don't have any value. This is just for practice. Okay, so there's no real value here. The amounts are really, really large if it was real Bitcoin, right? So there's a difference between mainnet and testnet.